Good evening. When I first found out that Steve Borowski had been accepted for induction into this Hall of Fame, I called the woman at the lei shop that has made my lei for the past 24 years. I wanted to order a lei for this occasion. When I told her what the reason was for the lei, there was a long pause, and then she said, "Now, wow, Jennifer, how amazing that you even know someone who's going to be inducted into this Hall of Fame." And and I think she's right. It is an honor to know Steve. When I sat down with him to begin asking him about his achievements, Steve, being Polish, had forgotten everything that he had done. Or perhaps it was just that he had never spoken to anybody about it much. With a few well-worded questions, his memory awoke, and the things that surfaced. I thought I knew him. But Steve Borowski's involvement with ocean and water sports spans more than just one arena. His talents and accomplishments range from his own abilities in swimming and water polo to coaching and leadership. Add in free diving and spearfishing, and you will begin to see Steve's full commitment to the ocean and water sports and how having him in Hawaii has enriched the community. Steve's successes in swimming and water polo began extremely early. He began swimming competitively at age 4 and water polo at age 7. He was a national record holder from age 13 and was quite successful in national and international meets. At age 15, he was invited to play water polo for the very prestigious Illinois Athletic Club. He was a high school All-American in both swimming and water polo. He was a college All-American in swimming and water polo, and the only All-American in water polo to come out of a state other than California. At Indiana University, he was a member of their first and second ever NC2A championship teams. Steve swam the butterfly leg on the American record-setting 400 medley relay. He was a coach and player on the university water polo team that went undefeated in 2 years of Big Ten play. He competed in the 1964 Olympic trials in water polo. He was head beach lifeguard on Lake Michigan for 3 years. And then he stayed out of the water for quite a number of years. He decided to train again, and at age 50, he was the fastest 50-year-old in the world, setting several world and national records in the 50 free and the 50 butterfly. He decided 5 years later, at age 55, to do it again, and he was once again the fastest in the world, this time setting world and national records in the 50 and the 100 free, and the 50 and the 100 butterfly. Steve's successes in coaching are equally as great and varied. He was assistant coach under the legendary Dr. Councilman at Indiana University for 2 years. The team was NC2A swimming champions both those years. He was the assistant coach to Mark Spitz and Gary Hall Sr., as well as several other U.S. Olympic team swimmers, leading up to the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich. He was the Punahou High School head swimming coach for 13 years. Steve coached the boys and girls team to win 13 consecutive state championships each, the boys and the girls. Punahou was the winningest team in the nation, and they never lost a dual meet in those 13 years. He coached Chris Wu, who is here this evening. He coached Chris Wu to a berth on the 1976 Olympic swim team as the youngest member of that team, where Chris swam on a world record-setting relay. With Steve's coaching, Chris held the national high school record unbroken for 8 years in the 100 breaststroke. And Chris also held the Hawaii state record in that same event for 36 years. I will tell you it was just broken this year. Steve started the Kealakahe High School swim team 12 years ago and is still the coach. In 2010, Steve went to the Hawaii State Championships and took only a team of 5 girls. And with those 5 girls, they won the state championship. That's the only state championship in any sport that Kealakahe has won in their school history. And Kealakahe is only the 3rd public school ever to win a girls' state swimming championship since statehood in 1958. Steve has coached more than 50 high school Americans. He was the University of Hawaii men's swim coach for 2 years. And all of you university master swimmers will appreciate this one. Steve started the Christmas College Swim Forum at the University of Hawaii, which still continues to this day, 40 years later, and that's the reason why we don't get to use the pool from mid-December to mid-January. the United States national team coach over a 9-year period. He traveled worldwide coaching the nation's top swimmers, including Matt Biondi, Rowdy Gaines, Tracy Calkins, and many more Olympic champions. His meet destinations included Monaco, Hong Kong, Japan, China, the Netherlands, France, Israel, and Australia. And you might be really surprised to hear that he was offered the national team coach position in Hong Kong and turned that down. He was offered the national team coach position in Monaco and turned that down. And he was also offered the national team coaching position for Australia, which he also turned down. He said he just couldn't leave Hawaii. He coached Punahou Aquatics, which is an age group team, which has a roster of swimmers from all over Oahu. He's coached numerous winners of the Waikiki Rough Water Swim, a few that are here this evening. He also coached several national swimming champions. He coached Kaiopua Outrigger Canoe Club men's team through the Molokai Hoi, and he has given several coaching and swimming clinics statewide, nationally, and internationally. Steve is renowned worldwide for always helping triathletes and swimmers, professionals, amateurs, and beginners with their swimming skills and ocean knowledge. One of his real strengths is his ability to improve the technique of every athlete that comes to him. These people come from all countries, all year round, to train in Kona and learn from Coach Steve. He's been sharing his knowledge for over 25 years and never charges a fee. Steve does this for the joy of being able to enhance each athlete's ability and love for the water. And I understand that a Hawaii Waterman Hall of Famer's resume would also include community involvement and leadership. Steve served as director of the Kona Family YMCA for over 3 years, and he started a Why Not Try program. It was for youths aged 8 to 18 to get them active and started in the sport of triathlon. He also raised funds for the summer fun and after-school programs for children and families in financial need. And what I found most impressive personally was the time he spends with his swimmers when they're getting ready to graduate high school. For nearly 35 years, he has given hundreds of hours to dozens of students in helping them find college scholarships. He goes through this huge college book, researches colleges, swimming programs, and coaches that will complement each swimmer's interests, skills, and abilities. He supports and guides his students in their choices. 16 years ago, he started a class called Swimming 101. It was a weekly class to teach adults to swim, and for the past 10 years, he hasn't charged anything for that class. He's an aquatics facilities design specialist. I don't know how many of you know this, but he designed and helped oversee the construction of the Duke Kahanamoku Aquatic Center at the University of Hawaii. He designed and helped oversee the construction of the Waterhouse Pool on the Punahou campus. And he raised community sport for and then designed and oversaw the construction of the Kona Community Aquatic Center. All 3 of these Olympic-sized pools remain among the top aquatics facilities in the state. Steve donated his time and expertise on all 3 of those projects. In 1980, you might remember the boycott of the Moscow Summer Olympics. Steve was asked by the governing body of United States Swimming to organize and host at the University of Hawaii Duke Kahanamoku Aquatic Center an international swimming championship, and it was for over 20 boycotting countries. He had only 3 months to organize and coordinate the event, but several world records were set during this competition. Steve was also the overall race director for the 1991 Ironman World Championships in Kona, and he's the founder and race director of the King's Swim in Kona. Started in 1994, this was the 19th year for the swim. It's a 1.2-mile race, averages over 200 entrants each year, and it was conceived to honor King Kamehameha the Great, because the race finishes on the beach at Kamakahonu Bay, where King Kamehameha once lived. He's a board member of Ancient Ocean Ways, a nonprofit serving to perpetuate the Polynesian ways of canoe building. And as a race announcer, Steve has volunteered his skills, wit, and humor in announcing several races, including the Waikiki Rough Water Swim, Keaho and Lava Man Triathlons, Kukio Blue Water Swim, and several running races. Plus, of course, his very own King's Swim for the past 19 years. With that in mind, my educational portion of this evening is finished. I hope you can understand why I believe Steve is a Hawaii waterman. And now please enjoy some stories from Steve Borowski himself.
Is there any question why this was an easy selection?
And a very difficult nomination to write. There was so much.
Thanks so much. I think after that introduction, why don't we just do questions and answers and call it? Before I forget, thank you all so much for this nomination. I talked to China briefly and Linda. I also know Bill Smith quite well and had some great experiences with Connie. So knowing all five is real special for me. I've been in Hawaii for 40 years. And what I was thinking about was trying to give you a little overview, not so much about me, but some of the special people that I've met over the years. If I can throw these glasses on. Grew up in the middle of Chicago, kind of gangster-ish place. Not in the suburb, but right in downtown Chicago. 20-yard pool, 4 lanes, and swam at a little place called Black Hawk Park. And Chief Black Hawk is what it was named after. I think there's this ice hockey team named after them now, Chicago Blackhawks. Anyway, I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and I'm going to give you some names that you might recognize. One of my classmates was a basketball player. He was the captain of the basketball team. I was the captain of the swimming team and the water polo. His name was Mike Krzyzewski. Some of you might know him as Coach K. He's the head coach at Duke University, and still a great friend of mine, and he's going to be the Olympic coach again, his 3rd time, coaching Kobe Bryant and all those guys. So another good old Polish guy doing quite well. In 1964, I was selected to go to Tokyo Olympics as a youth ambassador in Chicago, and selected by a group of sports writers in Chicago. And we were hosted by Jesse Owens, just a phenomenal athlete from the Chicago area. 4 gold medals in the 1936 Olympics, and a legend. When we went to Tokyo, he couldn't walk a half a block without getting swamped and getting all kinds of autographs from people all over the world. So I spent 2 weeks with him in Tokyo, and on the way back, came to Hawaii. I think stayed at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and I said I want to come back sometime. I was 17. Haven't changed my mind. At the Illinois Athletic Club, there was a swimmer who was good friends of Duke's. His name was Johnny Weissmuller. He's from Chicago. He swam a little bit after Duke, but they had great races together. Here, right across the way, at the natatorium. Duke set a bunch of the records. Johnny came in, they raced against each other, they were great friends. And then as Duke retired, Johnny came in and was the premier swimmer. So I got to meet both of those guys. I met Duke when I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore in college at the Swimming Hall of Fame down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's about a year before he passed away. So lucky. And at the time, you don't realize the importance of it, but knowing those two special people was unbelievable. Especially for a guy my age, I'm only 24 years old. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to Indiana University. Jennifer mentioned Dr. James Councilman was my coach. I was so fortunate to swim for him. He was the Olympic coach, 3 Olympic teams. Swam for him for 4 years, assistant coach for 2 years, and did my graduate work with him also. Interesting thing about Doc, he swam at Ohio State. He swam with Bill Smith. He swam with K.O. Nakama. Those names I knew when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. Doc would talk story about those guys back in their college days, way back when. So I'm trying to bring in, this relationship between them. And Doc came over, and I think he swam I saw a picture of him in a convertible car going down Kalakaua Avenue in the 40s, going to the Keo Nakama swimming meet. And Keo Nakama and Doc were teammates and I think roommates. We'll tell you a funny story a little bit later. Talked about the different trips that I went to. Bill Smith and I were coaching. He was at Kamehameha Swim Club. I was at Punahou Aquatics. We'd go to these long swim meets and spend a tremendous amount of time together and talking old stories on his college days and his world record days, and just a wonderful, humble man, and I miss him. Tommy Connor, I met about 12 years ago. I was asked to coach Kaiopua Canoe Club for the Molokai Ho, and we asked Tommy to come and paddle and steer for us. So we spent some time together sharing ideas on training and stuff like that. So what do you need? When I saw the other inductees for this, it was like, couldn't have been any better. Tommy Connor. At Punahou, I taught a little bit, only part-time. And when I was there, I taught some intermediate swimming. And it was kind of the same time there was this guy named Barry Obama that was there. I may have also coached him a little bit in swimming classes. We're going to save a little bit about Keo Nakama a little bit later. If I can share kind of a funny story about Keo, and this is from Doc's wife. Doc has passed away. Keo and Doc were great friends. Doc is a big old burly guy. Keo, of course, kind of short. And they were great friends. And they were at a movie theater in Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State. Back then, there weren't all the previews and stuff. The lights were on. And